Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Gabriel Antoniazzi. Joining me today, Tam McManus, who's having a little bit of a problem with his lighting as usual, and Barry Ferguson. We've got plenty to talk about on this Wednesday. We'll be previewing Rangers versus Motherwell, who start in about 2 hours' time, and also looking back at some of the games yesterday. That's where we're going to start. Celtic were beaten 4-0 by Paris Saint-Germain at the Parc des Princes. Neil Lennon remained positive despite the 4-goal deficit as they finally fired back from their French tour after just one win in 3 games. We can have a quick look now at what happened yesterday. Celtic were beaten 4-0 by an impressive Paris Saint-Germain side to conclude their pre-season French tour. Kylian Mbappe and Neymar scored in the first half as the French champions showed their class, with Ander Herrera and Pablo Sarabia adding after the interval. However, boss Neil Lennon claimed he was happy for his side to get through the toughest examination possible and praised his players' discipline for not getting involved with the infuriating Neymar, who was, as ever, the centre of attention. Captain Scott Brown missed the game with a nerve problem but is likely to be available for the weekend's friendly, and the Hoops midfield did look short, playing a 5-2-3 formation. It was an experimental team, but it's a reminder of how tough Champions League football can be, and if that's where Celtic want to get to, they'll have to step up their game by the time of the qualifiers. Yep, that's what went down yesterday. Don't forget, you can join us on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. Send us all of your comments, any questions for the pair next to me, and I'll pose it to them. Okay, Tam, are you with us? You got everything sorted over there?
Yes, sorry, a wee problem with my lighting there. I'm all right,
mate. Did you see the game yesterday?
Yeah, I did. I watched the game. Listen, I've seen the PSG starting lineup, and I feared the worst for Celtic, to be honest. And to keep it under 5, I think was a pretty fair result for Celtic. I thought they'd done well in the first half. Obviously, they lose the goal early doors, and you think this could be any score. If PSG really turned up and turned up and the heat. But I thought Celtic for the remainder of the first half are very good. Knocked the ball about well. Julian hit the post. And I thought they lost 2 sloppy goals. To be honest, they didn't really get cut through at any point by PSG. It was 2 bad goals they lost. And second half, again, they done okay. And it was a good test for Celtic. If anything, and Barry will tell you, it was a good workout for them. They've done a lot of running, a lot of chasing. They had to keep their concentration and their shape. So I think it was a good preparation for the start of the season, rather than playing a team who you go and beat 7 or 8-0. I think it was a better test for Celtic.
Yeah, Barry, do you agree with that it's good to challenge yourself against the best possible teams that you could play, instead of perhaps playing sides that you are favourites against?
Yeah, certainly when you're 10 days, 12 days away from playing your first competitive league game, it's always good to come up against top opposition. And let's be honest, I watched the game. PSG, they're a phenomenal football team. Everybody goes on about Neymar and Mbappe, but for me, the boy in the midfield variety was different class for me. One of the top midfielders about just now. But it's always a good test to go against these sort of teams. And listen, you're never favourites going into these sort of friendly games. It's a good test. That I agree with Tam. Celtic done a hell of a lot of running, obviously with the way that PSG keep the ball. But for me as a player, and I think Tam will agree with myself, I always enjoyed playing against the top opposition. You knew what levels you had to get to in terms of fitness, and in terms of level of the way that they can play football. That's in a different planet, PSG. They've got money to burn, and as I mentioned, 3 players there, but you could go right through their starting 11 and even onto their bench. They're a top quality opposition, PSG.
Yeah, they're fantastic, Barry. We'll come on to them in a minute. I just want to stick with Celtic at the moment. A few comments coming in. John Kelly saying PSG were in second gear and still eased to victory. Yep, they were very, very impressive, especially 55 seconds in when Mbappe stuck it in the net. I thought, oh God, it could be 7 or 8. But I do think that Celtic kind of got a bit more a grip of the game going into the second half. Tam, I just wanted to ask you about the formation. Obviously, Scott Brown was injured. He didn't play. It seemed to be a bit of a 5-2-3 formation. I'm not sure from Lennon if that was to defend or just trying something new. We'd see them in a 3-5-2 before, but never in a 5-2-3. What did you make of it?
Yeah, listen, I just think the formation, they were really backed and pinned in the first 10-15 minutes. It was everyone behind the ball. Obviously, they played the three in the middle of the park without Scott Brown there. And to be honest, I thought Cham was excellent. I thought he was really, really good. And he's one of those players, I was thinking about it yesterday, in Cham, in terms of Rangers. I think Cham would go straight into Rangers' midfield, and he doesn't get a game for Celtic. So I think that shows you the difference between the squad depth that both teams have got. And Cham looked very, very good yesterday. Maybe he was just playing for a move. He was playing against PSG. He was back in France, but he was superb the first half. Played really well, and I just think the formation in terms of Celtic, they wanted to get behind the ball. They didn't want to get embarrassed. So they did play the five at the back, and they didn't get embarrassed. And a lot of people thought, after a couple of minutes, this could be, as you said, 7 or 8-0. And they've already took a down off of PSG last season. So I think that they've done well, and they get a lot out of it. And hopefully Scott Brown's back for the next game. I'm not surprised that he had a dodgy hammy when he's seen the PSG starting lineup.
Yeah, maybe he saw the lineup and just thought, I'll miss this one. Alison, Sarah Carroll saying Celtic were missing Bruni. They usually do when he isn't playing. But I did think as well, Tam, Olivier Cham had a strong game. There was one point where he shouldered Neymar off the ball. I think he'll be pleased with that one. Barry, who else stood out for you for Celtic? Obviously, it was a 4-0 defeat, so they're not going to have the whole team standing out. I was quite impressed with Frimpong. We know that he excels in that wing-back position. And his pace as well comes in handy when he's up against opposition like Mbappe, like Neymar.
Yeah, Frimpong, listen, last season he was a surprise package for Celtic, there's no doubt about it. Nobody knew much about him. And this season's a big test for him now. The opposition he's going to be coming up against in the league, they'll know what type of player he is. He's full of energy, and he's a young player with a lot of potential. There's no doubt about it. But always, when you have a good first season, the second season's the one to see if he can continue it. But he's certainly got the potential, and he showed last night against top opposition that he can handle it. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was impressive yet again. Obviously, it's pre-season, and PSG are one of the best teams in Europe. But going into the qualifiers, which will obviously be later this year, they start in mid-August. Do you two fancy Celtic's chances of reaching the Champions League group stage?
Well, listen, I think that it depends on the draw. It depends on the draw, Barry. You know that yourself. Barry's been in the Champions League qualifiers. If you can avoid the big dogs, I mean, I think the first maybe 2 or 3 rounds should be relatively straightforward. It's when you get to the last one, you might get somebody, a big club. And it's happened with Celtic numerous times over the last few years when they've came unstuck in that last qualifier. So it depends on the draw, Gabs. If they get lucky with the draw, they can get through. But there's so much money swimming about in that Champions League now. And even your teams, in Eastern Europe are spending a lot of money. So you could bump into Ludogorets or something like that from Bulgaria who spend a lot of money. So it just depends on the draw, in my opinion.
It's always tough, Gabby. I mean, I keep getting harping on about it. Champions of your country, and you've got to play 4 qualifying games before you actually get into the group stage. I think it's crazy. Back when I was involved in it, it was 3 qualifying games, and as Tam rightly said there, the first couple of qualifying games were, I wouldn't say easy games because you always come up against half decent opposition, but it's when you get to that 3rd qualifier and 4th qualifier, that's when you start to get teams that you don't know too much about, but they have got money to spend and they've got decent quality players. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for Celtic. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it always is, and especially with the one-legged playoffs that UEFA are implementing this year, obviously because of the fixture pile-up due to the coronavirus pandemic. A few comments here. Stephen Martin Wee Frimpong, great laddie, always plays football with a smile on his face. He certainly does. Sean Grogan, Celtic fan. I hate to say it, but it will be hard for the Hoops this campaign. Yep, I agree. It all depends on the draw, and I think that comes sometime in August. So we'll find out then who Celtic will be playing. Let's have a quick word on PSG, though. Very impressive. Mbappe, Neymar, Verratti, Barry. He's one of my favourites as well. Never seems to lose the ball. They've got the League Cup final this Friday, the French Cup final the following Friday, and the week after, they're back into the Champions League, the quarter-final against Atalanta. What do you two reckon? Can they go all the way this year? You know, it's the one they really want to win.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you look at that team they had out last night, and they've got some superstars in that team. They're great to watch, the way they pass the ball, the way they move. And for me, everybody goes on about Mbappe. He's unbelievable pace for his age. Unbelievable what he's achieved at a young age. And Neymar talks for himself. Great quality on the ball. But the main guy for me is Verratti. I don't know what Tam thinks. I've watched this guy for a number of years now, and I know PSG have got money to burn, and money will be no object in terms of contracts, but he could go and play anywhere he wants, that guy. He plays with a cigar. He's an unbelievable footballer, great under pressure, great technique on the ball, can pass it 5-10 yards, can pass it 40-50 yards. He's got everything. I just love watching the guy. I think he's a dreamy footballer.
Tam, would you be Neymar or Mbappe if you just had to pick one?
I think Mbappe will prove to be a better player going forward. Listen, Neymar's not the Celtic fans' number one choice. I actually spoke to Scott Brown after the game, and he was wanting to run on the park and give him a welly because he was winding Celtic up again. He seems to do it every time he plays against them. And to be honest with you, Celtic boys can't get near him. You know, he's that good, and he seems to take the mick a little bit as well and rub it in. I think Neil Lennon's a little run in with him yesterday, but he's a fantastic world-class player. But Mbappe, for me, I think will go on. As Barry said, he's achieved so much. He won a World Cup, and and at such a young age, he can go on and be a real superstar in the game. As I said, I think I read somewhere on social media that he clocked the same time as Usain Bolt during the game, during his 100-metre sprint. So, I mean, that kind of pace, if you're a fullback and you're up against that kind of pace, I mean, you're getting your right midfield player to tuck in and help you, because his pace is frightening. You know, he's from a standing start, bang, he's lightning quick, he's away from you, and he's got the composure in the final third as well. So I think Mbappe's got everything in the locker to go and be, one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, certainly one to watch. Paris Saint-Germain when the Champions League does resume in a couple of weeks' time. Let's just stay on Celtic. Quickly, transfer talk as ever. Reportedly, they've had an initial £3.2 million offer rejected for AEK Athens goalkeeper Vasilos Barkas. Now, the Greek stopper is very in demand. He's had 10 caps for his national side. He's also interesting newly promoted side Leeds, who of course will be in the Premier League, so have endless money. The Greek side are holding out for $6 million, around that fee, if Greek reports are to be believed. So guys, it seems that Celtic are set on signing a keeper. Obviously the Forster deal is stalling at the moment. Scott Bain played yesterday. I think maybe the third goal went through him a bit too easily for some Celtic fans' liking, but it seems that the hierarchy and Neil Lennon at Parkhead are set on signing a new keeper. Tam, do you think that's the right decision?
Yeah, I do, Gab. It's Celtic are desperately needing a goalkeeper. Nothing against Scott Bain. I think he's a good, experienced goalkeeper. He's maybe a good backup, but for me, they need a top-class goalkeeper. And you're talking about the guy from AEK Athens. They need somebody of that ilk. Spend money on a good goalkeeper. Obviously, their first choice has always been Fraser Forster. As time goes by, I don't think that deal's going to happen, to be honest. I think if it was going to happen, it would have been done by now. I think he's quite content to sit at Southampton and pick up his 70, 80 grand a week, which, listen, you can't blame him. He's earning great money down the road, and it'll be up to Southampton to maybe give him a little sweetener to leave and go to Celtic and make his money up. And I don't think that's likely to happen. So I think Celtic are definitely in the market for a goalkeeper. They might be in the market for two, to be honest. I know they've got young Doolan and young Connor Hazard. Both young guys have been out on loan. Two promising goalkeepers, but this season, of all seasons, you're needing a really experienced number one, and Celtic, I think that's the main position that Neil Lennon will be looking at now to strengthen, to make sure that they go ahead and try and get the 10 in a row.
Yeah, completely agree. The goalkeeper position seems to be the number one position they're looking to strengthen in before the season begins. Not long away now. They've got a friendly at the weekend. They're playing Derry City at Parkhead on Saturday. It's all but confirmed after a potential match with Dundalk fell through. And it's the first time this pre-season that they've been favourites, of course, beaten by Paris Saint-Germain, beaten by Lyon, drew to Nice as well in the Viola Trophy. So perhaps this will be the game that will give them most likeness to the opening day against Hamilton. Barry, do you think they'll go all-out attack at the weekend? It's the kind of right one to shape them up for the season opener on August the 2nd?
Yeah, it's the same for every team, not just Celtic. The last game before you kick off the proper season is when you want to be motoring, and that's the way that you're going to probably set up for the week ahead. And it's an ideal game, Derry City. They'll have a few British teams. I know Tam's played there. There's quite a lot of English and Scottish players that play over there. So it'll be pretty similar to what they'll be used to. So that'll be a decent test. But always the game before the season kicks off is what probably team he'll start with the week ahead.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he'll go for that 4-2-3-1 that Celtic favour when they are attacking, especially at Parkhead. Okay, from one friendly at the weekend to a friendly this evening. Rangers take on Motherwell at Ibrox, 6 o'clock kickoff. So the team lines are expected out at around 5. If you're still with us then, we'll let you know how both sides are lining up. So Rangers, they looked excellent abroad. If you can give them that tag in a pre-season game. But 2 impressive wins, 2-0 against Nice in the same scoreline against Lyon, saw them win the Viola Trophy. We were impressed with their fitness. We spoke about it on Monday, and also the way that they managed to keep out the French opposition, especially with 10 men for an hour in one of the game. Yanis Hadji impressed me as well, especially in that first match against Lyon. But how would you say they approached the game today? It's slightly different. We've seen them many times over the last 2 seasons under Gerrard impress away from home against European opposition. Porto, Braga are just a few that come to mind. But it is the games on home soil that have unstuck them in their league campaigns. And of course, it's just a friendly, but how will they approach this one? Is it more of on the front foot, unlocking that defence? Not necessarily saying Motherwell will be defensive, but Tam, what do you think Rangers have got to do here? Do they have to give the impetus to the game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rangers are at home and it's a pre-season game, and I think Steven Gerrard will be playing his team, as Barry said. I think the game before, the opening game of the season, the manager will play his strongest team, the team that he's got his eye on to start the season. So I think you'll see Rangers going very strong tonight. They'll play the team that's going to start the season against Aberdeen, and they'll be at home. They'll be expected to go on the front foot and go and win. And listen, Motherwell will be a good test for them. Motherwell were excellent last season. They've made a number of good signings this season as well, this coming season. So I think it'll be a good test for Rangers to go and break them down because, as we all know, as you touched on, Rangers away from home, particularly in Europe, have been superb. And when teams come at them, the problem is when teams sit in Aberdeen, I think even though they're at home, I think they'll be wary of Rangers and they'll sit in and try and be hard to break down, and Rangers will have to go and initiate the game up there as well. So it'll be a good test for them against Motherwell. They'll be looking for a confidence booster. I know it's all not about results in pre-season, but they've got 2 great results over in France, and they'll be looking to continue that tonight and continue the momentum to take into the Aberdeen game, because winning's a habit, same as losing. And if they can win again tonight, it takes them nicely into the game against Aberdeen next Saturday.
Yep, Motherwell fans, stay with us. We will come on to your side in a moment. But Barry, former Rangers captain, want to get your thoughts on the actual players in the team. If we don't include Morelos for a second, because we know that he is their main man, who are you most looking forward to watch play in a Rangers shirt this season?
I'm just looking forward to seeing how the start of the season off. I keep going back to it. I thought the first 6 months of last season was excellent. After the winter break, it went downhill for some odd reason. As you say, I've been really impressed. I think the 2 games over in France has been good for them, good for confidence. And I agree with what Tam says. They look, if they're a better team on the counter-attack, but more often than not, when you play with Rangers and when you play at home, teams come and sit back. So I'm sure quite a lot of the pre-season training will be round about attacking teams. And I think he'll try and do something different tonight. Because I know really well myself what it was like when teams came and sat 10 men behind the ball. It becomes frustrating, but you can't allow yourself to be frustrated. And the fans get frustrated, which they've got every right to do so. But you've got to have big characters and maintain a level of consistency to try and keep the ball and move the ball quickly. But I'm excited. Certainly, I'd probably say Hadji, because I quite liked him when he first came in. Obviously, the season ended early. He's still young. Again, he's got huge potential. He looks as if he's got a lot of ability. And again, this is a big season. It's a big test for him. As I said, he came in and I thought the games he did play for Rangers last year, he looked really well. It's not going to be interesting where he's going to play, where he plays him off the right or that number 10 position. I think he can play anywhere. So it's a big season for him. Rangers obviously splashed out a bit of money. There'll be a wee bit of pressure there. But listen, he comes from a great background, didn't he? His dad could handle pressure, no problem. And I'm sure the young kid will be able to do the same.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the 2-footed Hadji as well. I think what we'll see is him playing one of those 2 so-called inverted number 10s that Gerrard likes to play with a 3 in behind. And as you say, he was impressive when he came in, but it was more moments than entire games that he took control of. Right, we're getting a few predictions in. Tony Holton, Motherwell to win 2-1. He's going for. Please send all of them in. Maybe he's not your biggest fan, Barry. But let's talk about Motherwell for a moment. I'm also excited.
Get him blocked, Barry says.
That's all right. That's fine. I can handle it.
You need the comments up as well, Barry, so you can have a look.
Leather skin.
Right.
Me and Tam have got leather skin.
I know, you're used to it by now.
In this show.
Okay. Right, let's talk about Motherwell. They've got an exciting team. They did really well last season, finished third, and they've started their pre-season quite well. Also, I'm looking forward to seeing not only their midfield, how that works, because they had that impressive trio in the middle last year of Polworth, Donnelly, and Campbell. You've got Turnbull coming back in. We all know what he can do when he plays, and Mark O'Hara as well, good midfielder they've brought back in this summer, and Jake Hasty returning to his former club, playing against his current club. So quite a complicated one there, but he is allowed to play because it's a friendly. And Stephen Robinson, the Motherwell manager, has been impressed with what he's been doing in pre-season so far. So he'll be out to impress both managers. Tam, for this one, how do Motherwell approach it? Do you think they think, right, let's see how we can set up in a defensive shape against a team that will dominate the ball, or do they just think it's pre-season? Let's go and attack. Let's get our players on the ball. Let's get them confidence.
I think it'd be interesting to see how they shape up. I mean, it might be it's a free hit. It's a pre-season game, as you said. You know, and Stephen Robinson might go and attack them and go and attack Rangers at Ibrox. In Motherwell, actually, I think they've got some really, really, inciting players up front. As you mentioned, Jake Hasty, David Turnbull coming back, Tony Watt's there. Tony's a guy who, he's got to start fulfilling his potential. He's got the undoubted ability. I think he's had more clubs than me already, and I think he's only about 25. So he's got to find a home somewhere, and really, settle down. And I think you might get that at Motherwell, because he's an excellent footballer. He's got the ability to go and score 20 goals a season. So. And you've got Jordan White, who's come in, who's been excellent for Inverness for a couple of seasons, so he'll put pressure on Tony Watt. So Alan Campbell in the middle of the park. Motherwell are really, they've got a really good squad of players, and they'll be looking, I think, again, not only top 6, but going and challenging for that top 3 alongside, Aberdeen and maybe Hibs. So I'm looking forward to see how Motherwell line up, because I think Robertson's done some really good business and kept a lot of his he's good players as well.
Yeah, that's almost been his best business, that he's managed to keep players and not sell them. A few more predictions. I think these guys are with you here, Barry. Andrew Robertson, 7-0 Rangers. Alex Kelly, a bit more grounded, 2-0 Rangers. Come on then, Barry.
Can I just say, I'll go for 8-0 Rangers. Nah, I'm only kidding. I tell you what, Motherwell made a lot of good signings, as Tam rightly said as well. They've got. You can see the players enjoy playing under him. He's a really good coach. I hear a lot of people say good things about him. So I think Motherwell are in a good place, and I think Motherwell can do just the same as they done last season and finish. I think they will finish easily in the top 6. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But I think they could get third spot again. I think they'll really challenge Aberdeen again for that position.
Yeah, I think Aberdeen, Hibs and Motherwell will all be vying for that third spot and Europa League. Tam, a quick one. I know you're very active on Twitter, but you're also a big fan of the little videos that Motherwell put out. It's they've got really good social media there, and they're very, very open club, very forward thinking. So that as well comes into play when I watch Motherwell. That almost cancels out Tam Cowan never shutting up about them. That makes me think, maybe I wouldn't mind if Motherwell, drop some points here so I can give it to Tam. But then I see them on social media, and I'm a big fan of their work. I know you are as well, Tam.
Yeah, I am. Listen, I think they're a great club from top to bottom. Obviously, I do a lot of coaching at Braidhurst with the performance school, and I've got a lot of Motherwell boys, young kids coming through, and they've got a lot of good young boys coming through as well. Obviously they've developed the likes of Hasty and even Stuart McKinstry, who's at Leeds United now. They sold him on. I think Turnbull will go as well. So they've got a conveyor belt of young talent. They've got boys coming through in under 18s and the 16s, and I see the boys at the 15s and 14s, who I think in a couple of years as well will be pushing for a first team spot. And everything about the club is on the up. The supporters, are really turning up and getting behind the team as well. And the social media is superb. I think it's the best in the country. I think some of their videos, and Barry's watched a few of their videos as well. They're all behind the scenes. Supporters love that. In the changing rooms, sitting down having lunch and getting one-to-ones with guys and seeing their personality. So I think their social media team definitely deserves a pay rise if Alan Burrows is watching.
Yeah, he sometimes watches. Maybe they'll have a tonight when the paycheck comes in next month. Okay, Niall Kane, would be great to see a high scoreline. Yep, I think we're all looking forward to that. Okay, there was another friendly yesterday. Aberdeen played St Johnstone, 2-1 win for Callum Davidson's men at Pittodrie. Of course, it was just a friendly, but it's a good start to life in Perth for the new St Johnstone manager, of course, replacing Tommy Wright. 1 goal from the youngster Bruce Anderson for the Dons couldn't cancel out the Scott Tanser double. Barry, I'm quite interested to see what you think about this. I know it obviously goes for all Scottish teams at the moment, but how do you think managers are approaching these friendlies when they're playing teams that they're going to be playing in 2, 3, 4 weeks' time? Because typically you would play maybe foreign opposition or even lower league teams, but now they're playing clubs that they will be playing within the month. How do you approach that as a manager?
You've got to approach it as professional as possible. It's a total different pre-season. As you say, they're going to be playing teams in pre-season that they'll play 3, 4, 5 weeks down the line. So it's a strange. You've got to. It is what it is. With obviously COVID-19 coming in, and you've got to just go on with it. As simple as that. It's no ideal. You wouldn't like to play against your opposition because you maybe try different things, different formations, which all teams will be doing. But listen, as I said, there's nothing we can do about it. The main thing for the managers is the players getting minutes into their legs. They missed a lot of football. That was 3.5, 4 months without playing competitive football. They got them in for 2 or 3 weeks before with a bit of fitness, and now it's about getting the minutes in the legs and just making sure they're game ready for the kick-off to the league. That's the way I'm sure that every single manager will be doing things at each of their clubs.
Yeah, Tam, I know you're a big fan of young players. Bruce Anderson, I think he's 21, 22 now. He scored that goal against Rangers the opening day 2 seasons ago. he'll be trying to repeat that when they meet at Pittodrie at 12:30 next Saturday. But Tam, do you think he could be more of a star for the Dons this campaign?
Yeah, I do. Listen, I've been aware of young Bruce for a number of years. I actually commentated on the Youth Cup final a couple of seasons ago, Aberdeen against Hibs at Hampden, and he played in that game. And I think he's a very talented young player. Obviously came to prominence with a lot of people when he scored the goal. Stephen Gerrard's, I think it was his first game up at Pittodrie, and he scored the equaliser. But he's had a loan spell at Dunfermline, and I know that Stevie Crawford liked him at Dunfermline. He's went back to Aberdeen. I think he's got to push for a start now. I think he's been there a couple of seasons in and around the first team squad. He's got a lot of competition, obviously, at Aberdeen. Obviously, Sam Cosgrove's your main striker there, so he's going to be hard to kind of dislodge. But if they go two up front, maybe late on in games, then maybe young Bruce will get an opportunity. But talented player, good to see him off the mark in a pre-season game, and that will give the manager food for thought with the league start coming up.
Yeah, I think he will be the third choice striker behind Cosgrove and Curtis Main. So it's big competition, but I know that he'll be up for the fight. Darren McManus, speaking after the game, he was saying that he's delighted that he can use Johnny Hayes in the Scottish Cup semi-final against Celtic. It's a strange one because typically Hayes would have been cup-tied, played for Celtic in that tournament, but he can play against his former club. I know that Hayes is getting on a bit now, 32, 33.
I lost Gabby.
we Paul Hartley's cut off.
He's back. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about Johnny Hayes, Barry. Yep. What do you make of him? You think he's got plenty of football left in his legs and can be a big asset to the Dons?
Yeah, well, I don't see. I've never seen him every single day in training, but we're watching games in the shape that Johnny Hayes is in. He looks to me, if he's a guy that certainly looks after himself. So I don't think Derek McInnes will have any doubts that he's got another really good 2 or 3 years in his legs. I thought every time, I was actually surprised that Celtic let him go. I thought he was a stick on maybe to get another 1 or 2 year contract. But listen, Aberdeen have gained a really good player, a guy that can play in a number of positions as well, which will be ideal for Derek. And he's come from Aberdeen. He had a lot of successful times up there, and he'll be great for the younger guys that he's just mentioned there and coming through. He's an experienced guy. He's played at the top level for Celtic in Europe as well. So, no, I think it's a great signing with Derek. I do.
Yeah, and I'm sure his experience will come in handy against Celtic. I do think he'll be a big player, whether he is playing left back or left wing this campaign. St Johnstone, Tam Callum Davidson now in charge. The right man, he started well.
Yeah, he has, Gabby. Listen, he knows the club inside out. He's been assistant there. He's played for the club, and he's a Perth boy. So, listen, I think it's he was a great appointment for St Johnstone. I think he's obviously, we all know, very hard act to follow. Tommy Wright, who done a brilliant job on a shoestring budget for a number of years at St Johnstone. They'll be looking first and foremost, I think, to stay in the league. Like a lot of clubs down the bottom, they'll be looking to stay in the league and then push for a top 6. But remains to be seen. He signed a couple of guys from his contacts down south in England. We don't really know too much about up here, so he's still got a good core, experienced players up in St Johnstone, and he'll be looking to add a number of players beside that. But again, St Johnstone, Callum Davison, they'll be looking to try and get into the top 6 again, because St Johnstone have been probably spoiled over the last 4 or 5 years with Tommy Wright, and obviously winning the Scottish Cup as well. So he'll be looking to get off to a good start.
Yeah, they'll be desperate for the league campaign to start as well. Frankie Pollock, Celtic should have never let Johnny Hayes go. Well, perhaps it will come back to bite them in the Scottish Cup semi-final.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think many people would have said, many Celtic fans.
Hopefully it does come back to bite them.
Oh, good one, Barry.
I'm only kidding on. Listen, it's a wind up. He's
getting a bit. He's getting a bit bold because Peter's not here, Gabs. He's getting a bit.
Can I just say something about Callum Davison? I like to see young Scottish managers do well. I think it's a great appointment. He's went and he's done his apprenticeship, Callum, and he was an ex-teammate of mine at Scotland, and you hear people talking. We took a young boy in loan for St Johnstone, and we just got talking. He says he was a great coach, really good coach, great on the training ground. So I hope Callum Davison does well this year. You like to always see Scottish teams give young Scottish managers the opportunity. So I hope Callum does well.
Yeah, Barry, completely echo those thoughts there. Hopefully, more young Scottish managers will get chances as well in the future. Right, from young Scottish managers to the Scottish national team. News today that Scotland will be playing possibly in front of fans on September the 4th when the Nations League campaign starts against Israel. And that'll be at Hampden. And that story broke last night. The SFA and the Scottish Government want to use it as a test event to see if fans can be safely allowed into grounds. And what happened later today was that the Czech Republic confirmed that they will be playing Scotland away from home. It's in Olomouc, not in the usual capital city of Prague. So it's a smaller stadium anyway, but they haven't confirmed yet if they're going to try and use fans in the stadium. And what is interesting about the two fixtures here is that they're playing Israel and Czech Republic in the Nations League. They've got Israel a month later in the playoff semi-final, and Czech Republic are also in the European Championship groups that Scotland would be in if they managed to somehow beat Israel and then beat Norway or Serbia. So it's going to be a very interesting set of fixtures, fans or no fans, when it comes around. A double warm-up game almost, if you will, for Steve Clarke. Barry, do you think that's how the manager will approach it? Does he not want to give too much away before the massive semi-final the month later? Or does he want to win the Nations League group?
I think he wants to win it. There's no doubt, and I think he'll be excited. We spoke about it on Monday. I'm certainly excited with this group of Scotland players. I think it's an exciting group. I think it's a group that, as games go on and they play more together, I think they can get better. And I think we've got the right guy at the helm. There's no doubt about that. I think Stevie Clarke's a fantastic manager, and he's got some really good players, guys that are playing at the top level. Let's not forget that, guys that are playing down in English Premier League, and also guys up here who are playing at a high standard. So I'm excited going forward with these games, and I'm sure Stevie Clarke can't wait to get started. I just hope the group can knit together, because it's difficult when you go away on international duty. You only get the guys maybe 5 or 6 training sessions. But I'm a big believer in good players can knit together, and I think we've got a really good group of players. And we've also seen Kieran Tierney play left of a back three, which I think is the way that Stevie Clarke may go forward, playing a 3-5-2, and that all obviously allows both Kieran Tierney and Andy Robertson to play in the same team. And I think Kieran Tierney can play that position, left centre half, no problem. So no, I'm excited going forward with this group of players.
Tam, I know you're very positive about the national team as well. Barry's back in that 3-5-2 formation. Is that something you think could work as well? Is that what you would do if you were Steve Clarke?
It's definitely worth having a look at. Obviously the game's coming up. I think it would be a great way to get both of them in the same team. I'm not sure about Tierney playing right back or Robertson right back. It just doesn't look right. You know, they look as if they're unbalanced. I'd rather a left-footed fullback and a right-footed fullback. You could obviously play a 4-4-2. You could play Kieran Tierney left back and Robertson left midfield. As another option, I think that we'll be looking at. But we have to get both of them in the same team. I think that's clear. And you've got guys like McTominay and Billy Gilmour obviously has picked up a knock, but John McGinn. You know, guys, playing at a real top level, as Barry said, in England. So we've got a great squad of players. It's really exciting to see them all knit together. Can we find a centre half for somewhere? Big McBurney, aye.
Tam, you've got the big boy, the captain at Leeds United. I've watched him a number of games in the Championship. Proper leader, old kind of school centre back. I think he could come in and play with Tierney. And look, we spoke about it a number of months ago. I think Porteous at Hibs, if he continues to progress, he's a future Scotland centre half in my mind. So I think there's potential to go and do that. But the only problem is with international football, you don't get enough time to really work on it. As I says, you only get 6-7 maximum sessions in. But listen, Stevie Clarke's experienced, he'll know what way he'll want to go. But I'm excited. I think there's huge potential in that team.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it will be a benefit to Scotland if they play away to the Czech Republic with no fans? Because you know how it can be when you go to Central or Eastern Europe. It can be quite hostile environments. But if they're playing with no fans, does it give them a better chance?
Yeah, I think it does. I think particularly the second game, if we beat Israel, if there's still no fans, to go to Serbia, and possibly away from home with no fans would be a big advantage. I think their fans are nuts over there, maybe the Red Star Belgrade Stadium. That would be an intimidating atmosphere to go and play. You know, if you go and play them with no fans, it'd be great. On the flip side of that, you know, us playing Israel at home, I thought with full Hampden behind us would have been a certainty. No fans at Hampden, you're playing Israel. Again, I think that tips it a little bit in Israel's. You know, we're not quite as strong favourites as a full Hampden backing us, so I think it can work either way. But you know, it seems to be that, particularly in Scotland anyway, we look as if we're on the right path to getting some supporters back. You know, I read today that there was been 700 and odd tests amongst the Premier League, Scottish Premier League players, and no positive tests have come back. So we look as if we're doing it the right way in Scotland. Out with Europe is out with our control, obviously, but in terms of getting punters back into the stadiums at Scotland, we look as if, you know, that could be possible maybe in the next few months.
Yeah, fans coming back are very crucial. No more. Ian Maxwell, SFA Chief Executive, confirmed that the governing body would face a £6 million black hole if there's no fans until 2021. That's huge for the SFA. We know that they are quite cash-strapped as it is. Now, it would be £3 million that they were expecting from the two semi-finals and a final of the Scottish Cup. We now know that they're hoping to get some sort of supporters back inside, and then also all of the international games in September, October, November. So if things continue as they are, as Tam said, no coronavirus positive test in Scottish football this round. There's still only one positive. That was the Aberdeen player all the way back at the start of testing. Hopefully we will have fans, firstly at that Israel game on September the 4th, and then from there on in. Okay, that's all we have on the national team for the moment. I know that us three could speak about it all day long, who would play where. We seem to have about 100 central midfielders all playing in the Premier League. We'll try and cram them all in somehow, but we'll leave that for another day. Hearts and Partick Thistle, their arbitration case is dragging on still. We thought that it might finish today. It started on Friday afternoon last week. We thought that it may finish today, but it has not yet. They're hoping that they will find out by the end of the week. We heard today that all key witnesses have now been questioned by a three-man independent arbitration panel, which was set up to probe the controversial circumstances with the league ending and the voting. We've heard all that before. We know what happened there. And of course, Hearts and Thistle want their relegations to be reserved and are seeking compensation, of up to £10 million. Barry, I asked you about this on Monday. It seems to be never ending at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, I never. I know we spoke about it. It was hopefully ending today. I was never confident in that. Now they're saying the end of the week. But we just want to put a stop to it and see what's going to be happening. I've said for the word go. I think it was really unfair on Hearts and Partick getting relegated. But I think in time they will be relegated, but they've got to be compensated. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I think it was really unfair on it. We just want to know what's happening in at Hampden. So hopefully by the Friday afternoon it'll come to an end. But do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if it then carried on to next week. It just keeps dragging on and dragging on. I think for everybody's sake, the full of Scottish football, we just want it done and dusted, and then we can all move on and hopefully get back to playing football, which we will a week on Saturday. And then the next step will to get the fans through the door and get our football back up and running. That's all I'm concerned about now.
Yeah, completely agree. They need to start planning for next season's signings. They don't know their budgets, everything there. Quick question for you, Tam, from Jamie Higgins. Who would you play in central midfield for Scotland? Just a quick one.
Oh, Billy Gilmore, if he was fit. I'd play Gilmore, McTominay and McGregor.
No McGinn?
That would be... No McGinn?
Yeah, I think Mick Johns went off the boil a little bit. So he's
it's
maybe
a
play
difficult
him.
one.
It's hard to. It's really difficult because Gilmore was flying at Chelsea, and I would have had him straight in, to be honest. And so it's great to have the options, but Barry.
Yeah, I mentioned another name that a lot of people have forgotten. You've probably seen a lot of games. I think John Fleck's been excellent for Sheffield United as well. So he's one that's you can throw into the mix. Callum McGregor, McGinn, McTominay, Armstrong at Southampton.
Armstrong,
I think he's
superb.
I think he's been great. And McGinn, so there's 3 positions in there, and there's 6, 7.
If we got Craig Levein back as a manager, he'd be able to squeeze him on.
But do you know what? See, as a manager, that's the sort of headache you want.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
100%. I hope that answers it for you, Jamie Higgins. Right. Quick one as well. Sam Nicholson, who, when I spoke to Robbie Neilson as he was inducted as the new Hearts manager, was very keen to bring back. He has joined Bristol Rovers instead of returning to Tynecastle. So a bit of a blow for Neilson and Jambo's fans all over. The former Northern Ireland under-17 and under-19 manager Stephen Frail has left. He has joined Dundee United to be their assistant manager. Joins Mickey Mellon's backroom staff.
I thought Barry got that gig.
Yeah, Barry? What do you reckon?
I've got a gig, mate. I've got a proper gig.
A proper gig?
No, I kidding.
No, what do you two, just a quick shout out to Dundee United. What have you two thought so far? Mickey Mellon, I spoke to him, must have been 2 or 3 weeks ago now. He seemed very positive. Obviously, he'd read a lot that he'd never played in Scotland, never managed in Scotland. But trust me, he is a Scottish guy from the West Coast, and he is ready to do whatever it takes to take Dundee United up that table. Barry, how do you think they'll get on?
Yeah, I know Mickey, and I know Mickey knows Scottish football. I know he's been down in England playing all these days, then obviously went straight into management, but he knew everything that goes on in Scottish football. And I hope he does well. I do still think they need to sign some players, Dundee United. I watched them a few times last year on the Friday night games, and if I'm being honest with you, I wasn't overly impressed with them. But listen, they won the league easily, and the one guy at the top of the pitch was a match winner more often than not in Shanklin. And then I've seen a few rumours today and yesterday that maybe Stoke City are going to come in for him. So they need to try and keep a hold of him. He's going to be crucial to them, Lawrence Shanklin. And I still think that Mickey will need to sign 3 or 4 players because it is a decent squad, don't get us wrong. But you need to strengthen. They're going up to this is different going into the Premier League. No disrespect to the Championship. You're going up a level. You're going up a gear. So he will need to strengthen. Whether he's got the finances to do it, I don't know. But one thing you'll get from Mickey is you'll get real positivity. He is a positive guy, and he's a good man manager, and he'll make the players believe that they can go up there and achieve good things. But at the back of his mind, and I'm sure Tam will agree with me here, I do think they need to strengthen with 3 or 4 players.
Tam?
Yeah, absolutely agree with him. I think they're a little bit light in certain areas, particularly Shanklin. Obviously, he's our main man, as Barry said. I think surely there's got to be big English clubs looking at him in the upcoming window. I think he's proven goal scorer. He's now an international player. I think the key for Dundee is obviously holding on to him. But I think they're a little bit light in the wider areas as well. Maybe central midfield. And at the back, central defence. So he's got to strengthen. I agree with Barry. There was times I watched him last season and I wasn't that impressed with him. I thought they'd the winning mentality. They'd done enough most weeks to get the job done. But they're stepping up a level. I think it showed against Hibs in the 2 cup ties. One of them was, I think both of them were on the TV actually. They drew the first game at Tannadice. I thought they were fortunate to get a draw that day, to be honest. I thought Hibs were a better side, and then Hibs beat them comfortably at home. So I think that's it. If you're looking to get into the top 6, which Dundee United are a top 6 club, then they've got to go and sign another 3 or 4 players to go and compete for a starting jersey.
Yeah, I definitely think they need 3 or 4. I downloaded the Scottish fantasy football, and I was looking to get a Dundee United midfielder, and I wasn't too keen on any of them. So yeah, that should say enough. A few midfielders in there, hopefully, and maybe they'll get in my team. A quick shout out to Sean Grogan, who apparently I said he was a Celtic fan when he is a Falkirk fan. So apologies, Sean. I would never accidentally accuse you of supporting a different team. Okay, that's us done on Scottish football. We've got a few minutes left. Let's have a quick look at down south. We're going to start with Liverpool, who will be crowned champions of the Premier League today for the first time in 30 years. Here's what Jurgen Klopp had to say.
We won this league we had not enough points until then, but we won this league before lockdown. We brought it over the line after lockdown. And again, I'm really happy with what the boys did. Not happy with all the results, but what the boys did, I'm really happy. That shows me there's a massive basis and a good chance that we will stay a really, really good football team. So, but that should show everybody together we can do anything. If we really stick together, then we can do anything. And that's exactly what happened in the last 3 years.
Yep, Jurgen Klopp there. He also went on to say to all Liverpool fans, can they please celebrate at home, respect social distancing? Because I think a few of them will be having a few beers, a few wines this evening. What do you two think of Liverpool? Big game tonight, actually, against Chelsea. Obviously, Liverpool have already won the league, and they have slightly taken the foot off the gas, which is inevitable. But Chelsea are still looking to make the top 4, and it's at Anfield. Tough place to go. They won't want to lose there. Tam, how impressed have you been by Liverpool so far this season, and how do you see this one going tonight?
Yeah, listen, Gabs have been the best team by a mile in England this season. You know, they've been really consistent. As Jurgen said there, they won the league before lockdown. They were miles ahead of Man City, and they've come back. And they've had a couple of blips since they've come back from lockdown, but the job was done. I think it'll be a good game tonight, really good game, because Chelsea were excellent against Man United at the weekend. They look, Frank Lampard and Jody Morris, we spoke about it that week, myself and Barry. They're building a really, really good squad. They've got a lot of competition, particularly in the forward areas, and Willian's playing out with skin at the minute. So I think, and Chelsea obviously still got a lot to play for. They've got to try and get in the top 4 to secure Champions League next season. So depends what kind of mood Liverpool are in. I think if they're in a celebratory mood and they've had a few beers still from winning the league, then I think Chelsea will turn them over. But I think getting the trophy, Barry's been there a few times in the last game of the season, getting the trophy and stuff. Listen, I think they'll be bang at it tonight, so it'll be a good game.
Yeah, Barry, how do you view it? Obviously, you've lifted league trophies as captain. It's been such a long wait. Obviously, it's not as long as Rangers have currently been without the title, but can you see the parallels there? Could you imagine if Rangers had to wait to win the title and then to lift the trophy in front of an empty stadium? It's very bittersweet, isn't it?
Mm. Well, I hope it's no 30 years, that's for sure. Yeah, it'll be strange for the Liverpool players, but I agree with what Tam says, and obviously you've seen Jurgen Klopp's interview. They did win it before lockdown. There was no doubt in my mind they were the best team. They were absolute on fire. And listen, they've struggled a wee bit since lockdown, but I think once they were mathematically the champions, I think obviously the guys kind of half put the tools away to go and celebrate, which they've got every right to do so, because as I said, they've put a hell of a lot of work over the 3 years that he's been there. What a job he's done. He's totally transformed that club, and the players that he's brought in have been absolute magnificent. I think that front 3, every time I watch them, they excite me. So no, thoroughly deserved the championship. And I'll go on about Chelsea. I think with some of the signings that they've made, I think they're going to be a real powerhouse again under Frank Lampard. As Tam mentioned, we spoke about it last week. I think he's been given the tools to go and try to make Chelsea the number 1 team again, and I think he's got a real chance of doing that. and I think next year's Premier League's going to be even better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. One player they could be signing is Kai Havertz, the Bayer Leverkusen captain. Now, he really impressed me when he was at Ibrox. The last game before lockdown, I was there, saw him, and he just looked effortless. He was only 20 years old as well, playing almost in a false nine position. And just every touch, every pass, easy. And if he comes to Chelsea, it'd be a massive boost for them. Could also be a boost for Rangers in that Europa League second leg. They won't have to face against their best player.
Yep, I hope Chelsea sign him. But I tell you, he looks so easy on the eye, doesn't he? It looks as if he's
he's superb.
Never gets out of second gear. He was really impressive. I hadn't seen much of him, if I'm being honest with you, until he came up against Rangers, and I was really impressed. And at an age of 20, he's still got so much learning to do and so much potential to fulfil. I think if Chelsea go and get him and the boy Timo Werner, I think he's a great player. Love to watch him. So Chelsea on the right tracks. I just think they maybe need another centre back, maybe to make them a bit stronger at the back. That's maybe the only position that they struggle. But Chelsea are certainly on the right tracks. Yeah,
I think another centre half is on their wish list. But what we're just talking about Chelsea there, Timo Werner, Havertz. So they've got Pulisic obviously, and then Ziyech they brought in from Ajax. You talked about the Liverpool front three, Barry. It's almost as if they're modelling it on those three for Liverpool. You know, dynamic, pacey, aggressive, strong forwards. Almost going for that kind of counter-attacking style. So it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't know if any's read Van Dijk's interview. I think it was about a week ago, just going on about Klopp, the way it's the hardest he's ever trained in his whole life. And that's the way that his teams play. I think you've got
train the way you play.
Tam agrees with that. I'm a big one on that. You've got to train the way you want to play, and the pace and the energy levels that Liverpool team play at are phenomenal. But that's down to hard work on the training field. And I think quite a lot of teams are starting to maybe look at that and think we want to mirror that and try and go down that kind of route. And it's Klopp that's done that. I think the last 3 years he's come into British football, he's been a breath of fresh air for me.
Be a very, very interesting game. 8:15, I think kickoff is there. Another one at 6 o'clock. Manchester United against West Ham United. David Moyes returning to his former club. If they get a point, they guarantee their safety. And in the relegation battle, a big win for Aston Villa last night, 1-0 over Arsenal. John McGinn starring in that Villa midfield. They look set to stay up. They're out of the relegation zone for the first time since February, and they've just got to equal Watford's result on Sunday to ensure they play in the Premier League next season. Watford away at the Emirates, so no easy task for them. Good news for Scottish football fans. We get to see John McGinn in the Premier League for another year, hopefully. Other than that...
You can't get in Tam's Scotland team.
Oh, I know. Maybe another year of watching him, Tam.
You need to pick his game up a wee bit to get in.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Don't forget, we've got the Rangers game is this evening. We'll just see if their lineup is out now. They're still to release it, so we'll have to leave you waiting for that one. That's all we've got time
Barry will
for.
have it on his phone.
Oh, yeah. Too right.
I'll tell you. Wait a minute. All right. Griggsy, Tav, Golson, Edmondson, Barisic. I'm only kidding.
Griggsy.
Aye, Griggsy. The big man's out sunning himself in Crete.
Yep,
Roughie. Unbelievable.
Lucky boy.
Very lucky. We're sitting here on the 22nd of July and it is raining heavily. Could use some more descriptive language to say how bad the weather is here, but that's enough from us. Right, we're going to have to let you go. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to my two guests, Barry Ferguson and Tam McManus. Don't forget you can like, share and subscribe to all of our social media channels. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. And you can also join us again at the same time tomorrow at 4 o'clock on all of those platforms, with friendlies taking place this evening and ahead to the start of the Scottish Premiership. Once again, thank you very much and bye-bye.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit Arnold